Okay, well, recently what I've been working on is really the issues related to Brexit. So the vote that happened in the UK in June of last year to leave the European Union, that sort of upended politics in so dramatic a way that I wanted to understand why people had voted in this way and to understand what the vote was about and what the consequences of this are. So recently, a lot of my work has been around issues of race and citizenship specifically. So I think partly one can understand Brexit as emerging out of the general economic downturn that has occurred globally since 2007, but it also has very specific factors, in part that the election was even called. So there was no reason to have called the election. There was no groundswell of opinion of people wishing to leave the European Union. The calling of the referendum was entirely to try and quell a debate that was going on with the Conservative Party's backbenchers, where there was a strong Eurosceptic minority. So David Cameron, who was the Prime Minister at the time, called the referendum only in terms of stopping a quarrel that was happening within his own party. The consequence of it, nobody expected Brexit to actually be voted for. Everybody expected Remain to be the outcome. And so this was a very unexpected outcome. And in a sense, one has to try and understand how it was possible that it came into being. And I think a lot of it was to do with issues of resentment in terms of a resentment against the political elite, but also resentment against anybody who looks different. So the issue of the EU is that over the last number of years, more people have moved from Europe into Britain. And there's been a sense of the ways in which the xenophobia that's now being directed towards non-UK EU citizens sits upon the sedimented layers of racism that have existed there for a long time against black and brown citizens. So in a sense, that has to be part of the way in which we understand what the vote is about. Race, in a sense, emerges as a consequence of colonization. I don't think that there's really a good understanding of race that doesn't locate it within the processes of colonization and imperialism. And if we understand race as emerging out of that, we have to understand it as linked to particular sorts of inequalities. Those inequalities, whilst there may have been formal decolonization in the sense that a lot of places that had been colonized now are independent and free, but there hasn't been the full decolonization to the extent that a lot of these countries continue to remain independent relationships to the countries that had been their former colonizers. So France, for example, continues to hold the gold reserves of a number of West African countries in Paris. Now, what's the reason for that? Why should that still be the case? Why are these countries not formally free and formally equal? So unless we address the inequalities that continue to exist in the present that have emerged out of processes of colonization, then race will continue to be an issue that will need to be dealt with.